Tekken 8 Season 2 has failed in almost every way imaginable. When we saw the Tekken talk last week, we were worried, but we still had hope. Sure, it was a little odd that the characters they decided to show all seemed to follow the same philosophy of broken heat 50-50 mix-ups, but hey, it was just a couple characters, right? Surely they won't do that for every single character, and surely they won't double down on every single problem in Tekken 8, right? Right? Unfortunately, it seems like they have. The patch notes have been out for about 8 hours as I'm making this video, and I think this is the first ever Tekken update where literally nobody is happy with these changes. I haven't seen one person be positive. Even the most positive figures in the community are questioning what Namco was thinking with this patch. Coming into Season 2, there were 3 overall things the community wanted. We wanted to tone down the 50-50 Heat Casino gameplay, buff general defense, and, rather than buffing characters, focus on nerfing them instead. As even the low tiers in this game weren't actually that weak, it was more so just the top tiers dominating. Nerfs over buffs. Tekken 8 Season 2 has gone against every single one of these things. They've completely doubled down on the 50-50 Heat Casino gameplay on basically every single character. No matter where you look, you're seeing new moves that take you into stance at +6 in Heat. You're seeing some of the most ridiculous mix-ups we've ever seen in Tekken history on some of these characters. With Season 2, Heat is now twice as strong. More characters than ever are getting moves that recover heat. They're getting moves like low heat smashes, which used to take up the full heat bar, but now only take up a third. We're getting moves that completely shut down tracking, but are also plus on block. It's like, why go through the effort of buffing sidesteps if you're gonna give every character a sidestep move that's +5 on block and stops sidestepping? I just can't understand it. Why would they do this? Not to mention that now from heat engagers you can go into crouch, giving every character ridiculous 50-50s. If you thought Tekken 8 was a casino before, it is about to get so much worse. But that's not even the biggest problem in my opinion. Remember when I said overall we should look to nerf the top tiers rather than buff characters? Well, Namco said, not only are we gonna buff all the low tiers, we're not gonna nerf the top tiers. No, we're actually gonna buff all the top tiers and make them some of the most ridiculous characters we've ever seen in Tekken history. What were they thinking with this? I cannot justify it in any way. We already knew about the King buffs and how completely ridiculous they were, but now we're seeing Brian, who is already a super broken character, got buffs for some reason. Why would they do this? Why does he have a low in heat that wall splats? A low that wall splats on counter hit and is -12 on block. Great. And remember how they said they were gonna buff general defense in this patch? Well, unfortunately, what they showed in the Tekken talk is it. There's nothing else, there's nothing more than that. Sidesteps are better now, and you can buffer sidesteps, which does help for strings, but it's not gonna be that much help when, again, every single character is getting god tracking moves now. It gets even worse than that. If you're on Twitter, in which case I'm very sorry, you've probably seen a lot of crazy combos. Well, they've given pretty much every single character a strong aerial tailspin move, meaning wall carry just got 2 times better. Everywhere I go, I'm seeing 140 damage combos. Lydia has a new heat wall ender, which gives her ridiculous damage. Devil Jin is getting over 100 damage from a hell sweep. 100 damage from an unseeable hell sweep. Jin has been given like 3 new strong tailspin moves and is getting crazy combos. Basically, we all said the game is too aggressive and we need to buff general defense, and Namco responded by giving every character unbelievably strong combos. We're actually getting into Tekken Tag 2 territory with how damaging some of these combos are going to be, and it's very, very worrying for the longevity of this game. Get ready to take 140 damage every time you get hit by a Paul Death Fist. So many things are just wrong with this patch. How would they look at a character like Brian and think, his heat isn't good enough, let's give him more heat moves? Let's take a character like Reina, who was already strong, but had a weakness. She had pretty weak lows. So Namco decides, let's give her multiple heat smashes. She can use 3 heat smashes now before she loses her heat bar. And also a pretty safe neutral low that gives a guaranteed heat engager on counter hits. Oh, and speaking of her heat, let's give her a god plus on block option to get her into stance as well, because she really needed that. Who approved this? I seriously want to know how Namco even got this stuff off the drawing board. Kazuya is a legacy character whose weakness has always been sidewalk him to the left. So what happens when Namco gives him a +5 on block sidestep move that completely eliminates stepping, and a safe on block tracking mid that does 40 damage in heat? What? They looked at Kazuya, a character who has some of the best heat in the game, and said, you know what? Let's make it better. Let's give him new heat moves. Let's make it so his enhanced hell sweep and his normal wall combo now give you heat back. And oh yeah, we gave him a strong aerial tailspin, because why not? Although I can't lie, Kazuya looks really cool. I'll probably be maining him. I just can't get behind most of the buffs in this patch. I can't go over all of them today, but pretty much every single annoying broken top tier received buffs, at least in some way. And it's all really weird stuff. Why does Dragunov now have a 12 frame while standing launcher in heat that does 90 damage? So if he blocks a generic down back 4, you were going to take 90 damage if you're in heat. Who thought that was a good idea? Why does Clive get a new +4 on block neutral move that does 60 damage on counter hits? Why does Nina down forward 1-2 steal jail? They even buffed it. Why are we giving Alyssa, one of the most oppressive characters in the game, a new infinite range mid that's plus on block? There's a lot of stuff I didn't mention too. Like, a lot of characters have seemingly lost a lot of their identity in this patch. I'm not gonna lie, I feel really bad for Steve players. Yeah, he got some awesome buffs, but it feels like so much of the character's identity is being robbed away from him now. And I might be wrong here, but looking at Steve and some other characters, it seems like they've simplified a lot of execution in the game as well, which is just disappointing to see. Oh, and don't get me started on the Lee changes. And we didn't even mention Feng Wei. I could talk about how bad these changes are all day. And I didn't even mention how they've significantly nerfed Oki in this patch. I'm planning to make a full video going over this in depth because it's actually a very huge change that not many people have talked about yet, but they've essentially made Oki completely brain dead in this game. All the interesting situations where you could get a follow-up after a combo if they didn't quick stand have been removed. Now you'll just automatically do a quick stand just by pressing back. There's no nuance to this anymore. With this change, they've essentially removed all the risk when you are knocked down. Now, after a throw or after any scenario, you can just hold back and safely get up. Also now, when you've been knocked down with your face facing towards the opponent, which is supposed to be a super advantaged position for the attacker, you can also press back to do a quick back roll. Why is this a thing? There's a lot of other smaller stuff we could mention, like how a lot of the new moves are animated pretty horribly. I've seen only a couple people talking about this, but it seems like they've reused a ton of moves to try and work them into being new moves, and they just look so stiff and weird. There are some standouts and some really cool new animations, but a lot of them just kind of look cheap. Am I the only one who thinks this? As I'm sure you can expect, the game has been completely review bombed on Steam. You can't go anywhere without seeing someone complaining. Even the people whose mains got huge buffs are not happy with these changes, and it's pretty easy to see why. I just can't understand what their philosophy was going into this. They know what the reception is. They've seen it. They know people have a huge problem with how overtuned offense is in this game. So why would they double down? At first, I thought maybe it's because casuals would be happy with this, but I honestly can't even see casuals being happy with this. They're just gonna get frustrated because the game just got 100 times more matchup checky, gimmicky, and honestly unfair. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I'm really worried about the future of Tekken 8. Me and a lot of other content creators have said that a lot is riding on Season 2. The game has had a pretty bad reputation for most of its life, and this needed to succeed. And not only is this, in my opinion, not a success, this is a pretty huge fumble on the Tekken team's part. I'm worried about the longevity. I can't see this game surviving if they just don't learn from their mistakes. I really hope this stuff gets fixed. Of course, it's still very early. This is just day 1 of Season 2. A lot of stuff could change, but to be honest, I don't really know if the core issues can be fixed here. I don't know if there's a lot of counterplay that's going to be found for these characters doing 140 damage in their combos now, or these characters having stance 50-50s from heats that are just unbeatable and you just have to guess over and over. We need an emergency patch. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about Season 2. I'm actually really curious if there's going to be anyone to come and defend it, because I haven't seen that yet, but there must be some people who are in favor of this. Let us know in the comments. We'd be happy to have a discussion with you. But yeah, that's about all I've got for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe to support the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, and let's pray for Tekken 8.